Okay, Rabbi Anes was not lying. He knows us for. Do I talk? I talk very loud. Rabbi Anes has known us for a very, very, very long time, and in that time, he has inspired me more than I can ever say. You know, I don't always understand what he's saying, but I always feel it. I always feel the words dvarim. You know, dvarim that yotzei me'alev are very, very powerful things. And Rabbi Balanes is a lev. He's just one heart that gives out to the world. Okay. First off, we'd like to say tonight's shiur is going to be. I would like to say tonight's shiur is going to be for Shalema Yitzhak Nisim Ben Luna. Before we jump right in, let's just notice that I think it's always the same people. You know, the rabbi mentioned this already, but I have to give shvach v'hoda'ah to Hashem, because you need to understand. It was the rabbi said it was almost 2 years, and I was trying to say a little over a year ago because I still emotionally can't handle the idea. But as I stand there in front of you, I'm thinking to myself, outside of a program like a Shavuot program or whatever it is, this is the first speech I'm giving. It's the first class I'm giving in anywhere, really. This is the first, and he's right. The last one I gave was for Chazaq. The last one I think was actually, you're right. Was our, wow. Okay, yeah, he's 100% right. I was going to try to, but no, you were right. I went straight from there back to Cleveland on a Thursday night. I went straight from there back to Cleveland. I'm the one that lives in Cleveland, not LA, in case you got us confused. I went straight back to Cleveland, and Monday, yeshiva was closed and we were in quarantine. It was crazy. And Baruch Hashem, full circle, we get to come back. And I remember all those months and years apparently complaining and saying that the Zoom thing is not working for me. You know what it is to be a speaker who primarily tells jokes and you're doing it on Zoom? And you never know if anyone's laughing at your jokes? My ego was so high because I just assumed that everyone's rolling. I gave them a minute. I would give everyone a break of a minute after every joke. Be like, compose yourself, people. I'll continue the speech in a second. I'm sure everyone's dying of laughter right now. And Zoom was a blessing. It really was. And I had a tremendous bracha that right before COVID started. One of my students wasn't well, whatever, and we started doing a class for him on Zoom before anyone heard of Zoom. One of my techie students was like, Rabbi, there's this thing called Zoom, and we could do it on Zoom. So I became a little proficient in Zoom before I needed to, and then was able to run straight in. It doesn't mean none of my Zoom classes ever failed horribly, but still, it worked out. But this is an amazing, amazing opportunity to just give shvach v'hoda'ah and let Hashem know. How many classes over the past 2 years ended, and Be'ezrat Hashem will be able to do this in person. And here we are. No one is as impressed as we were with Corona, though. Our joy level is not on par with our depression of quarantine. And that's really what we want to get into tonight in a minute, is that dichotomy, we call it. I don't know how to say that in Farsi. That the mismatchedness of our joy, of the joy we allow ourselves, versus the sadness that we allow in. First, I want to thank Chazaq. I have no idea. I was there once. I'm going tomorrow. To see it again because I need another reason to feel like I'm not doing anything for Klal Yisrael. And if you ever want to feel like a nobody, go to the Chazaq offices. The reason, if you ever want to love a Jew, go to the Chazaq offices. And if you ever want to feel like you're never doing enough, go to the Chazaq offices. Because if you go there, they have like this, I said before, they have like this CIA-esque operation going on with maps and computer screens and people with headsets. And you would think they were stopping terrorist attacks. And they are. They're stopping spiritual terrorist attacks. This is our frontline defense against our children completely assimilating. And nowadays, you need to understand something. This isn't back in the day. Back in the day, assimilating was a hard thing to do. There was a lot of shame involved in it. Bringing home a non-Jewish girl, bringing home a non-Jewish boy, there was a lot of shame involved in that back in the day. Going away from your parents' path, there was a lot of shame involved in that. No matter how affiliated, by the way, or unaffiliated. Sometimes the more unaffiliated the Jew, the stricter they were in a lot of ways about their roots. Also, nobody liked us. 60, 70 years ago, we're going to go into this in a few minutes, but 60, 70, 80 years ago, a Jew couldn't do whatever he wanted. He couldn't get a job wherever he wanted. He couldn't own whatever he wanted. Till today, there's certain jobs that we hold because those were the only jobs we were allowed to have back then. There's a school in Cleveland called the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland. I'm hoping I'm getting this right, because if I'm not, I'm going to hear about it when I get home. There's a school called the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland. They just purchased this new beautiful campus, and they're building this big beautiful building, because beyond that, there was a pilgrimage of people that have a tremendous influx of Jews that have come to Cleveland, and they're building this big beautiful school. The state-of-the-art school is gorgeous, and they're building it on what used to be a golf course. And if the stories are true, it was the only, or was one of the first golf courses, or the only one, if my memory serves me correct. It was one of the only golf courses, or the only golf course. And back then, golf was a big thing. Not that it's not now, but it was bigger then, I guess. That allowed, it was a country club golf course. This is where all the wealthy people went to do business, to do so many other things, to socialize. And it was one of the only ones that allowed Jews in. Fast forward years and years and years later, it's one of the biggest schools in the world. It's one of the big Jewish, religious Jewish schools in the whole world. It's enormous. It used to be, they didn't even let us in. Nowadays, no one cares that you're a Jew. Remember, one of my rabbis one time told me, you want to know the biggest danger? You want to know one of the biggest dangers to the Jews? It's not that Jews are forgetting that they're Jews. It's that the Goyim forgot they're Goyim. They're forgetting to hate us. That might sound crazy, but they're forgetting to hate us. They're forgetting to segregate us. Instead, I remember there was a book when I was a kid. I didn't prepare this part. I don't remember what the book was called. It was a book when I was a kid about this Jewish kid that became a neo-Nazi. This Jewish kid, he didn't just go off the derech. He went as far off as he possibly could have gotten. He became a neo-Nazi. He joined their gangs, and he was trying to explain to the neo-Nazis the way to kill the Jews, the way to destroy the Jewish people, is not to murder them, is not to persecute them. Everybody tried. Everyone tried. If Chalila, you were alive during the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, we have Tisha B'Av coming up, if you were alive during the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, you would have thought it was over. You would have thought it was done with. No more Jews. They've tried and tried and tried and tried. There's like not a country in the world left that has been around for X amount of years that hasn't had a hand in trying to destroy every Jew and trying to murder us. And he was telling them, the key to destroying the Jews is to not destroy the Jews. They're like a wound. The more you pick at them, the more you push at them, the worse they get. The bigger they get. The more numerous they get. You want to know how to destroy the Jews? He took a lesson from Paro. Paro came the closest. He said, you want to know how to destroy the Jews? Paro learned this from Bilam Harasha. You want to know how to destroy them? Don't segregate them. Not anti-Semitism. Don't kill them. Bring them in. Invite them in. Care for them. Love them. Tell them, you could be a Jew, it's fine. Just come to my party. Just Just like me on Instagram. That's all I want you to do. Just join my stories, things. That's all I want you to do. Come to the basketball game and idolize this 15-foot guy. Dude, that's all we want you to do. To be nice. We just want you as a part of us. Come. Come to our concerts. Come to our gates are open to you. He says, you're right. You're not going to have every Jew dead by tomorrow. But in 10 years, 20 years, they're going to get diluted. They're not going to know who they are anymore. They're going to lose their power. They're going to get fat. They're going to get stupid. They're going to lose everything. They're going to get lazy. They're going to lose everything. And when that happens, then the Jews will kill themselves. They're just going to assimilate and turn into nothing. That's how you get rid of the Jews. Back in the day, and this is my argument that we're going to make in a little bit, but back in the day they used to hate us. And that reminded us of who we were. Nowadays, they figured out what to do. They brought us in. Every 12-year-old kid has access to the whole world right here. And every non-Jew is telling him, we love you, Tzaddik, come. Come, like a predator in a car with candy to a little kid, come. Come, I know your mommy, come, I know your mommy, come. Well, it sounds very scary. Now it sounds scary. We dress like them, we act like them, we talk like them. Who's fighting that fight? Who's ensuring that this doesn't happen? Do we even know what we're fighting for? Do we have any idea why what we have is so important? We lost it. But there are few organizations that stood up and said, no, we didn't. Chazaq being on the top of that pile. It gets me emotional when I say this, because I remember 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I forgot when it was, one time I spoke for Chazaq and they gave me numbers. To see these numbers grow makes me feel alive. I remember when I was trying to make 70 kids a year sound bigger. My job is done for me. 1,000 kids in 4 years. 1,000 Jewish neshamot pulled out of certain death. And by the way, when I say certain death, it's not even the neshama that we're worried about anymore. These schools that these kids are in are not just full of non-Jews, intellectuals that are just, these aren't preparatory academies where they're all running around in their blazers and their handkerchiefs in their pockets. These are gangsters and thugs that we're sending them to school with. And then we say to them, why aren't you going to marry a Jewish girl? Why aren't you religious? Why? He can't be. It's dangerous. He shows up there starting to say he's a Jew. What's the representation of a Jew nowadays? He's wearing a Magen David. Kid's going to get stabbed. When I say they're saving 1,000 kids, I mean literally the lives of 1,000 children. And it's not just 1,000 kids if we're going to deal on the spiritual neshama level over here. It's not just the lives of 1,000 kids. It's those kids, and those kids. When you walk through their offices, all you can feel is, how can I be a part of this? And they answered even that call. Because greatness, as we're going to see, not in our step tonight, but in our step probably tomorrow night or tomorrow during the day, over the course of the series we're doing right now, but in this greatness that they accomplish, it's never selfish. It's never I, me, what can we do? Let's be the best ones. What's everyone else doing? Oh, that organization got 500 kids, now we have to get 700. That's not how it works. Think about any business that you know of. They're going around giving free flyers to the other businesses. They're going around advertising for their competitors. It's the most messed up business logic I've ever heard. But when you're coming from a real place, it doesn't matter who said, even hospitals. A hospital doesn't want you going to the other hospital. Oh, that doctor might be better and save your life better. I don't care. I don't care. I don't want you going to another hospital. I want you working here. I want you coming here. I want to be the best hospital with the most patients. In this, go where, I don't care. So don't go to me, go wherever. Chazaq's reach is so far, inspiring so many to just reach out. So what are they asking of us? Who do you know? Because you know somebody. And we're going to explain this in tonight's shiur, but who do you know? Because everyone knows somebody. Everybody knows somebody. They have a Gmail address. I love this Gmail address. You know, most people, they say that everything that we say gets recorded. Everything that we write gets recorded. And after 120, it gets presented to us again for us to see. I was always worrying what happens. Does everything that we type also get recorded? Because we've hit delete a lot of times. This Gmail address is going to be one of the only email addresses on earth that after 120, when we see it, it's going to be able to be read in its full glory. Not one editing is going to be needed on any of these emails. The email address is psty@chazaq.org. It stands for Public School to Yeshiva at chazaq.org. If you know somebody, you don't even have to do anything. If you know somebody, a cousin, a relative, a coworker, a neighbor, someone you pray with in Jerusalem, anyone that has a child that is in public school, and you know, or you don't even think, you don't even have to know, when you see either of the Rabbi Meirovs sell their thing, you could have had a guy who swore the last thing he'll ever do is send his kids to public school. He walks out of there with a beard and a shtreimel. It's unbelievable. Email them the information. They'll reach out. They'll do everything. And that kid now, that kid is on you. The kids that you save is on you. The Mishnah tells us, Lo alecha melacha legmar. It's not on you to finish it. But you get the schar as if you did. So let's say you reach out, you give them 3 names, and each one of those 3 names have 3 kids. That's 9 kids. Math is not my strong suit. That's 9 kids. If none of them go, the Mishnah says you get the schar. The Ribbono Shel Olam looks at you as if all 9 of them went. Not only did all 9 of them go according to Hashem, they all did amazing. Them and their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren all did amazing. And let's say they don't go, but the rabbi reaches out. And the parents think to themselves, you know what, we're not sending to public school, Halilah. And we're not sending to yeshiva, Halilah. Halilah that should happen. But let's say they say that. But they say, but you know what, the rabbi did have a point. There's no tradition. There's no spirituality. There's nothing. I'm not giving my kids anything. I have to at least take the step forward to do that. Shabbat has to be a little bit holier around here. We have to go to shul a little more often. Imagine that. Reach out to Chazaq. Give them what you can by way of the names, by way of the information, and let them do what they do best and save lives. I want to thank the rabbi, Torah Or, Chazaq, Rabbi, obviously, who Robbie's one of those guys, you never know who he works for. I just found out now he works for Chazaq. I have no idea. Chazaq, Torah, anytime, he has his finger in like every single pot. I have no idea who runs Robbie, but Robbie is just an unstoppable force. So a very, very big thank you to Rabbi. A very big thank you to Torah Anytime for, obviously, myself and my family owe a very big debt of gratitude to Torah Anytime, but a very big thank you to Torah Anytime. We're going to talk about their daily doses later, but let's jump in right now. I wasn't planning on taking that long by way of intro. Okay, so don't worry about it, I'll cut and paste over here. So, by way, it's the beauty of doing a series. I could just continue talking tomorrow. So, by way of our topic is living with the eye of our Creator, which was an accident. Not living with the eye of our Creator, the topic. Why was it an accident? Because Robbie sent me a flyer, and he just chose randomly a topic, and he put it on there. It might have been a topic someone else has used already, I have no idea. And he put it on there, and he's like, this is what the flyer is going to look like. And I've learned that I used to never open those emails. I would just respond to them, yep, looks good. Because I don't care what the flyer looks like, to be honest. And then I got into a lot of trouble for a flyer that, whatever. And so I started looking. And now, the flyer looked fine. I don't know. It still looked fine to me. I don't know if I would have caught the one I got in trouble for either, or the few I got in trouble for. So I responded, it looks fine. He's like, oh, you want that topic? I'm like, sure. And I didn't even look at the topic. Because as a speaker, you'll find that you can deal on any topic. You'll say what you want anyway. However, the topic did inspire me. There was something I've been working on for a while, and I never knew how to put it out in a certain way. And this topic just did it for me. Living with the eye of our Creator. It's perfect. It's really perfect, especially right now. What we're going through right now are the 9 days. We're mourning not just the loss of the Beit HaMikdash, not just the loss of a temple from, yes, but for us to be able to connect to that is very difficult. For us to be able to say, I know what that means, is very difficult. I remember my first year in Israel. I went to the Kotel. I missed Seder. I know, I'm a horrible person. I missed Seder. And I went to the Kotel with a few of my friends. It's like my second day there. The Kotel I felt was pulling me. When people go to Israel for the first time, they get very spiritual, very quick. And I went, I was no exception to that. If anything, I was the poster boy example. And I went to the Kotel. Actually, I went with my brother, Rabbi Ari. And we went to the Kotel. Somehow he didn't cut Seder. I don't know how that worked. But yeah, we went to the Kotel. And it's because I had yeshiva on Friday and he didn't. I just realized that. Anyway, no one needs to know that information, I know. So we went to the Kotel, and I come back, and my Rebbe said to me, Yossi, you missed Seder. I said, Rebbe, it's okay. I was at the Kotel. And he said, I didn't understand. I don't know. I was a yeshiva guy, but I still didn't get why that wasn't really a thing. That wasn't really an excuse for a rabbi in this type of yeshiva. And he was like, you what? That's like telling him, no, it's fine. I was sleeping instead, and then I went to a bar. It was like it's not that the Kotel's not a holy place. It's that you were sitting and learning, and then you went to a tourist attraction instead. It's not. It doesn't add up for him. So he's like, you went where? I'm like, I went to the Kotel. So he's like, really? He's like, so tell me, how was? I said, oh, Rabbi, it was unbelievable. I don't have words to describe it. He's like, tell me what happened. I said, I went, I touched the wall. I was never the in my life. He's like, you didn't feel anything, did you? I'm like, not a thing. I mean, what am I supposed to feel? Because I really was feeling very guilty of the fact that the first thing I thought when I saw the Kotel, and this, for anyone older in the room, I know you want to throw something at me. I never told the story of my father because he'd killed me. The older generation they actually did feel something walking up to the Kotel. The younger generation, we walk up and the first thing I thought when I saw the Kotel for the first time in person was, that's a lot smaller than I thought it would be. I thought it was a massive wall. It's not that big. Especially when you come down on the steps from the top from Isha Torah over there, it's like all the way down there. You're looking at the other walls and you're like, which one is it? They all look the same at this point, from this vantage point. And I went down and I touched the Kotel, and I davened. And it was a beautiful davening, but not what I expected. Not what I expected. And he said to me, see, the Kotel is the last standing wall of the Beit HaMikdash. I said, yeah, thank you. That's why I went. He goes, no, you don't understand something. He's like, what have you ever done to tap into that type of Kedusha? What have you ever done to be able to really appreciate what that wall stands for? I didn't fully understand what he was saying then, but I think we could try to explain it. The point is that no matter who you are, you can never really understand what it meant that we had a Beit HaMikdash. For those of us that were lucky enough to be alive years and years ago during 6-Day War, during Yom Kippur War, we understand what it means to have Eretz Yisrael at least. We understand the ness of that. But to understand what it means to have the Beit HaMikdash, we can't fathom that. We can't wrap our heads around that. So what are we mourning? There's a Gemara in Brachot that says, Rachma liba bai. There's a Gemara that says that the heart is what counts. If we do things and we're just, right, in Yeshaya it says, if we do things and we're just paying lip service, we're just saying the words, it doesn't matter, it's meaningless. We went through very difficult times in Yeshaya because the Jews were doing that. So what are we doing now? We don't shave, we don't listen to music, we don't this, we don't that. So what? Why? What are we missing? What do we really feel we're lacking? We can't do a few of our comforts for a few days? It's like the pizza phenomenon, Motzei Pesach. Motzei Pesach, all of a sudden, people could go weeks without pizza and not notice. Motzei Pesach comes, they'll stab someone in the neck to get 2 steps further in a line. They'll lose their minds to get a pie of pizza. I don't know what. I haven't had unleavened bread. Do you even know? Do we even know what it really is? I haven't had bread in so long. It's not like I haven't had carbs, by the way. You've had plenty of carbs. I haven't had what in so long that we need to run out there like crazy people. When we get robbed of our comforts for 5 minutes, we lose it. What are we missing? What we're missing is, what we're mourning right now is not just that we don't have a connection to Hashem. That is what we're mourning. What we're mourning is that without the Beit HaMikdash, we can never fully have the real deep connection with the Ribono Shel Olam. People tend to start today. Their questions have to do with today. They don't take into account history. I have people ask me all the time, if there's a God, how come there's so much suffering in the world? Well, there wasn't supposed to be. Everything was supposed to be daisies, rainbows, and butterflies, and beautiful. Adam Rishon, when he was created, everything was great. We did this. This was us. And it kept going down in level. They say, the Gemara says that in Noach's times, in the times of Noach, everything was still amazing. People barely worked. It was spring all the time. The weather was perfect. When you picked, the Midrash says, when you picked an orange off of a tree, another orange perfectly would grow in its place. Nothing rotted. It would just wait there for someone to eat it. Never fell. Seasons never changed. It was always perfect weather, perfect, beautiful outside. Everything was gorgeous. And then we sinned again. And the Mabul came. What was so crazy about the Mabul? It never rained when it wasn't supposed to. People had no idea what was going on. They were losing it. The world was supposed to be perfect. We did this. And how come there's so much suffering? We did this. We're the ones who did this. And everyone takes that in such a depressive way. To me, it is the most empowering thing we can ever say. Do you know what it means that we did this? Let me tell you a lie from the truth. Avram Avinu, the famous medrash that every kid loves. My kids love coming home telling me this one. Avram Avinu, his father says, son, I'm going out, watch the shop for a few minutes. Avram Avinu says, I've been waiting for this moment. Here we go. He leaves. Avram Avinu takes an axe, machlokes, whether he was 3 or 45. Everyone's always like, he was definitely 45. Right? Yeah, it's a little bit of a gap. Everyone's like, oh, he was definitely 45 if he destroyed all those things in that amount of time with an axe. I say to those people, you've never met my son Yitzchak. He could go through a house in 45 minutes without a problem if he had an axe. So Avram at 3 runs through the house, runs through the shop and destroys everything, puts the axe in the biggest or the strongest, what we say in Yiddish, getchka, the strongest avodah zara's hand, the strongest idol's hand, and he waits. And his father comes in and he says, what did you do? I knew you were trouble. And he goes, well, I was just standing here. I didn't do any of this. It was the guy with he's holding the axe. You caught him red-handed. You caught him red-handed, Dad. And Terach said to him, what do you... No, he can't do that. So, why did you do it? What happened over there? He knew he was lying. He knew the whole thing was fake. See, if it were real, what would Avram's father have thought? I can make $1 billion right now. I have the strongest idol in the world. Every other idol got into a fight. It's like the UFC of idols. Every other idol got into a fight in my store, and one came out the strongest. I could sell this guy for everything. Well, what's your idol? You have a thingamajiggy? This guy murdered it. How much? How much? Everyone want to bid on that. Why wouldn't he turn that into a PR dream? He has the strongest idol in the world. He could flip this. He could switch this so easily. Take out advertisements. I pit every idol I had against this guy, and he destroyed everyone. Guaranteed. Bring your idol. Send them in there. This guy's going to kill it. Why didn't he do that? Well, because he didn't believe that that's what happened. Because he knew the whole thing was fake to begin with. So it's without the Midrashim that it was real. That thing could have killed everybody. Fine. When we know something's fake, we don't have a lot of faith in it. We don't put a lot of trust in it. So what are we doing? We're walking around crying over something we don't even know anything about? And then we say, I'm not feeling it. This must not be for me. Do you have any idea the opportunity right now that we have? We went around and we destroyed the whole world. If there's a tsunami, it's because of us. If there's a hurricane, it's because of us. If there's a collapse in Miami, it's because of us. If there's a torrential, who knows, that's us. It's all us. An earthquake, it's us. It's all us. Do you realize what that means? So we're so trained to see the negative and beat ourselves up that all we say is, oh, I can't do this, I can't. As opposed to say, wait a second, hold on. If I'm that strong, if I'm that powerful, if I'm that amazing, that I can make a tsunami happen halfway around the world, then what can I do in my own backyard if I just focused? My Rabbi Berkowitz has a nuance he hates. Rabbi Berkowitz, I don't think he hates anything, but it bothers him. He says, people say, what do you want? I'm only human. You ever heard that line? I'm only human. What do you want? I'm only human. Says Rabbi Berkowitz, you're only human? You have any idea what happened when human beings came into the world, when Adam HaRishon was created? They said the Malachim, the angels, started singing Shira as if he was a god. Because when they saw him, they saw so much connection to God. They saw so many similarities to God, to the Rabbona Shalom. They saw so many similarities that they started singing Shira. How this makes sense, I don't know. I don't have the answers. But the fact is, I'm only human. We're the greatest things ever. What's askew? The askew and the thing that we're crying about right now is that we stopped viewing things through God's eyes. We only use our vision. We stopped thinking beyond what our two eyes see. We stopped thinking through the box that we put our heads into. We believe ourselves to be free thinkers when in reality we're so small-minded. The effect that we can change everything is a reality. It's not a fantasy. The question is, how do we do this? What do we do about it? How do we go? How do we go from this concept to a reality? Once we know what we can affect, once we know what we can do, once we know, how do we change it? Number one, right now at this point of the year, everyone is working on Lashon Hara. Right? You're going to see on Tisha B'Av, there's going to be many videos going around, and they're amazing. I'm not taking away from that at all. There's going to be many videos going around about Lashon Hara. Because we know sinah, hatred, is what tore down the Beit HaMikdash. The only thing that can rebuild it is love. Love for one another, respect for one another. We're going to discuss love in a minute. That's the only thing that can rebuild it. But sinah, hatred, is what ripped it down. Lashon hara is that sinah. When we speak negatively, when we speak gospel, when we speak negatively about other people, that's what tore it down. I like to make a suggestion. I think we need to do things a little bit different. Lashon hara is a horrible thing. But I want to tell you, this is something parents tell their kids all the time. And as parents, every parent, I don't care who you are, every parent, myself, everyone, every parent, things just fall out of our mouths when it comes to our kids. We just say stuff to them. And we don't think about it at all. Kid comes home and is like, he called me stupid. I'm like, you're the smartest kid in the world. What are you talking about? He called you stupid. No, you're not stupid. You know why he called you stupid? Because he's jealous of you. Now hang on 1 second. I just need to make a phone call. Just 1 second. Yeah, no, she said I'm dumb. I know. And I cried myself to sleep that night, actually, because I don't think I'm dumb. We do the same exact thing. She said I'm annoying. He said I'm not smart enough to do We do the same exact thing. What happened to the advice you just gave? It was great advice. That person down the block is jealous of you. They're not jealous of me. I'm dumb. There's no reason that they should be jealous of me. Why were we so confident when we told it to our kids? It's very simple. We're very confident when we tell it to our kids for a reason. The reason we're very confident when we tell it to our kids is because whoever it is that told our kid that, we don't hold much value to them. We know better than that other 4-year-old kid. But when it comes to the guy down the block, no, I think he actually knows better than me. He gets to define who I am better than I do. We give over the reins of control to all other people. Why? I was learning, it's always a weird thing to talk about. I was learning a number of years ago, back in the day, I was learning hypnosis. I'll let that hang in the air for a second, usually. And welcome back, everybody. I was learning hypnosis. And one of the first rules in hypnosis is really the first rule, I believe, and we're going to apply it here, in life. You can never hypnotize another person. We're not debating whether hypnosis works. It doesn't matter. You can never hypnotize another person unless you yourself are not under hypnosis. What that means is that you have to go first. You have to be in a certain state first. Now, the way this translates in the world is that we all get hypnotized all the time. So if it's a song or a movie or an amazing speaker, like anything, they can hypnotize you. But if they're not creative, if they're not in it, so if this movie is just garbage, it's just random images flying over a screen, the story doesn't make sense, nothing is aesthetically pleasing, the videography is garbage, it looks like it's shot in someone's camera. If the music is just someone smashing a violin against the floor, which, granted, some music nowadays sounds like, and if whatever, you're not going to get hypnotized by that because the person who's creating it didn't go first. They didn't create. They didn't put themselves into that state of beauty, of hypnosis, of creation, of trance, in order to put you into that state. You have to go first. What I want to suggest is that we go first. What does that mean, we go first? You know why we speak bad about other people? Think about it and be honest. Be honest. I had 2 kids sitting in my office. I have to change the story, so just give me 1 second. It's very recent and it's going to be very obvious what I'm talking about. I had 2 guys sitting in my office. They were guys. That part didn't get changed. It sounds like I just changed it, but it's not. 2 guys sitting in my office. And one of them was a very bad student. The other one was a very good student. And the very good student was bullying the very bad student. Right? The guy who mamash just in every class, he just couldn't anything. The kid who was able to was bullying him. Now this kid who was bullying him, we'll call him kid A, Reuven. Reuven was bullying Shimon. Poor Reuven and Shimon. They get beaten up all the time. I don't know why. But Reuven and Shimon. Reuven was bullying Shimon. Reuven was a star basketball player, star student, great kid. And he's beating up over here on Shimon. Shimon is a little bit slower, not as charismatic, not as good at basketball, not as good at just about anything, doesn't have as many friends. But he is a very happy person. He's very happy. He walks around with a big smile, he's always singing, and Reuven's bullying him. And I said to Reuven, what's the deal over here? He's like, he's annoying. Walks into the room, he's always singing, it's annoying. I'm trying to learn and he's annoying me. I'm trying to study, he's annoying me. So finally Shimon asked Shimon to leave the room. So they're talking to Reuven. All right, Reuven, what's going on? Something else is bothering you. You don't normally act like this, something else is bothering you. And we're going deeper, we're talking. And finally he comes out and he says it. And when he said it, it shocked him. He stopped for a second. He was like, what did I just say? Well, we're going deeper, and he goes, I hate that he's so happy. I said, what? Why? I knew why, but why? He goes, because he doesn't have anything. He has nothing to be so happy about. He's dumb, he's not a good ball player, he's not cool, no one likes him, and he's walking around like he owns the world. Someone has to put him in his place. I said, can you just say all that again without the righteousness of someone has to put him in his place? Batman. And he goes, I hate the fact that he's so happy. And he says it again, and he goes, oh wow. And he looks at me, and I don't want to say it for him. So I'm waiting, I'm like, go ahead, you could say it. It's weird. When you say it out loud, it's weird. But go ahead. And he goes, I'm jealous of him. I'm jealous of him, I am. I have to work so hard for everything. And I'm not depressed, I love my life, I love everything, but I have to work so hard to be happy. And this guy is just walking around with nothing. I don't like him. That's reality. When we say these bad things about people, when we feel jealousy, it's not because someone has something else. And it's not, by the way, because it's something we don't have. That's not what it is either. When I'm jealous of the money that guy has, it's not because I don't have money. Because I can earn more than him, I'm just going to be jealous again of the next guy. And the next guy. It never ends. It's a concept of perfectionism. I never stop wanting to be perfect. I know a guy. It's this guy. Who, if I clean up my whole house, I have a perfectionism issue. A real one. If I had to clean up my whole house and it was pristine, my car is a mess. And if my car is clean and my house is clean, my office is a mess. And my car is clean, my house is clean, my office is clean. I don't belong living in this house. I have to sell it and buy a house I can clean easier. It never stops. And we do this to ourselves all the time. Do you realize there's no end to that? What void are we trying to fill? What hole inside of us are we trying to pack in? The hole is us, who we really are. The Mishnah says, "Em ein ani li mili." If I'm not going to be me, who's going to be me? This is classically interpreted. But I want to go with the Maharal over here that says it a little bit differently. "Em ein ani li mili," he says, means, if I'm not going to be me, who's going to be me? Realize, if I'm not going to be me, no one's going to do my job. Not no one's going to take care of me. That's how we classically interpret it. If I'm not going to take care of me, if I'm not going to build myself up, if I'm not going to grow, who is? But that's not, says Amara, that's not the depth. That's the surface level. Go deeper. If I'm not going to be me, what's me? Me as a part of the general whole. If I'm not going to be me in Klal Yisrael, who will? We have a concept, we have an idea that we're the worst generation, I've said this a few times, we're the worst generation of Jews to ever live. The generations before us, those were the... And I'm not taking that away. But when we say that there's Yeridat Hadarot, that there's a lessening of the Jewish people as we get further down the generations, all we're saying is that the further you are from Har Sinai, the further you are from Kabbalat Torah, the further you are from a specific connection with Hashem. That's what we're saying. It doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're evil. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean you're destroying things. That's not what it means. As a matter of fact, I'll bring you a proof the complete other way. We were saying before that 50, 60, 70 years ago, Jews had no choice. They weren't allowed. They weren't allowed into most places. They weren't allowed into most professions. Nowadays, you could do whatever you want, and you're choosing on a random Wednesday to show up to a shiur. What is wrong with you? I used to say when I was saying this, what is wrong with you? You're missing the best TV shows right now. But everyone has a recorder, like whatever, they get it on demand. I don't know, whatever it is, they have Netflix, it doesn't matter. 3 of you are watching Netflix right now. No, I'm joking. Everyone looked around. You think I was going to call someone out on... No. We have one of the highest levels of Bechira we use now. And if there's something that separates the Jew from everyone else, it's how we use our free will. The whole world says one thing and we go against it. That's a Jew. And there's never been a generation till now that has been doing that amazingly. Every single turn our kids take is trying to pull them off. Every single turn. Every time you turn on your phone, there's a chance your child is going to see something, hear something. Everything out there is telling him what you're doing is not only uncool, it's evil. Religion is evil. You don't like people who like a lot of other things. And left wing and liberals and all making us sound like a bunch of devils. Yet we choose. We choose, call me what you want. Go ahead, you could call me whatever you want. Call me a devil, call me a hater, call me this. Most of you are, not you, I'm saying most of these people are so uneducated. They're calling Jews Nazis. They're, no idea what they're... You choosing this? You choosing that? How many people do you know that aren't here right now? That aren't doing this tonight? But you are. You have a Torah Anytime camera over here. You know what that means? That means that someone is going to be on the internet at some point, and instead of watching YouTube, Netflix, or anything else, is going to sit there typing in the word Torah into his computer in order to see this. That's the level of bechira. He's walking right by every single horrible thing that is so enticing and so beautiful to him and so numbing of all the pain and all the craziness in his head, and he's going there. So what's the problem? There's no problem. We're just falling for the greatest trick the devil ever pulled. The Satan is coming up and he's saying, I can't do this. They're too strong. I'm going to convince them that they're horrible. I'm going to convince them that they're bad people. That's the only thing I have. That's all I have left. So I'm going to give them guilt. I'm going to give them guilt. I'm never going to allow them to be happy with where they're holding. I'm going to get into their heads. I'm going to tell them things that make no sense, but they're going to believe it. I'll prove it to you. We've said this once before, a few times before. You have a guy shows up to shul on Yom Kippur, and he's sitting over there and he's praying and he's crying. Yom Kippur, the day for sinners. The day where we openly say to Rabbanu Shalom, every horrible thing I've done. The more horrible the things I've done, right? The more religious the person, the longer the list they walk in. They have books, they have full books of just al-chetz, of just lists of sins that we might have done. The more sins I say, the better of a Jew I am. The more bad things I admit to, then, the better of a Jew I am on that day. And the Satan's going to come into this guy's head while he's praying on Yom Kippur, saying all the averot he did, and said, what are you doing? So he's going to say, achet that I did this sin, achet that I enjoyed that sin. And he's going to come and he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're a liar. You're such a liar. I was there when you did that sin. You loved it. And instead of saying back to him, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's the whole point. The whole point of doing the sin was that I liked it. That's why I'm here today. As a matter of fact, I don't know what the rabbi's doing here, but I'm here because I'm a sinner. He's like, but now if we would just use that logic back to him, he'd be like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm going to go. But no, we were like, you know what, you're right. I'm a piece of garbage. Forget it. I'm leaving. And he gets us to go. We believe it in a second. We don't even ask him a question back. We don't say anything. When we go to a rabbi, that people say, go to this rabbi, he could see into your soul. You're like, no, no thank you. I'm not going to that one actually. Get me a blind rabbi. I'll be fine with a blind one. That one will be perfect for me. Why? Oh, because when he sees into my soul, he's just going to see how horrible of a person I am. It's the first thing we think. For the younger people in the crowd, you ever sitting at a table and your mother or whoever picks up your phone by accident instead of hers? You know that palpitation you have for 1 second? You're like, oh God. Now you know it's locked. They can never get it when you go there. Oh no. Oh, the phone. It's my phone. Like you'll do things you never thought you would ever do. Like that one's mine. Sorry, that one's mine. That one's mine. Just mine. Like I just need to make a phone call. And like never older people, they just have no idea what happened. Like I just wanted to make a phone call. I'm like, so use your phone. There's no more like 300 anytime minutes, right? You have unlimited calling on that thing. Give me your phone. Like, no. Just saying that turn to someone, give me your phone. Every teenager in here was just like, where is my phone? I just want to make sure that my mom didn't take my phone. Palpitate. Oh, because no one's going to pay attention to the good I'm doing on my phone or any. They're looking for dirt. Why? Because that's how we react to ourselves. That's how we react to other people. I mean, think about it. Someone does something wrong. Someone messes up. What do we say? Now we see their true colors. They've done a million right things in their life. That was all a game. It's all a game. It's all a game to cover up that thing that they did wrong. There's a Mishnah that says, Mishnah Avot that says, when you have two people standing, it's speaking to Dayanim, to judges. When you have two people standing in front of you, I'm sorry. When you have two people standing in front of you, view them as if they were guilty. View them as if they were both guilty. And when they leave from in front of you, when you're not judging them anymore, view them as if they're innocent. View them as if they're innocent. The Mishnah says, what are you playing a game? View them as they're guilty, view them as they're innocent. So we say view them as guilty, we understand why. If we go in and everyone's guilty till proven innocent, we'll find the truth here. But now they both leave. I found one guy guilty. I said one guy stole from that guy. No, they're both innocent. Well, what does that mean? The Mishnah says, no, we're not telling you to lie. Yeah, that guy might have messed up and he might have. But don't judge him. Don't define him by whatever he was doing there. We say this line all the time. You want to see a person's true colors? Wait till you get him into a money dispute. And then you'll see his true colors. No, you won't. No, you won't. You get a guy into a money dispute and you bring him to court, you're going to see the worst part of him. Why is that his true colors? Now I see who he really is. No. Why? Why is that who he really is? Why? Because that's what I believe about myself. The deepest, darkest parts of me that I'm ashamed about, that's who I really am. That's what we feel. That's why, and all the good that I do, that's not me. You're happier when you do good. And ultimately, we would say that the happier you would be the real you. No, that's logical. Not listening to that. No. I feel horrible, and that's me. You don't know how bad I am. So everyone always asks the same question when I say this. But if we're all going to walk around thinking that we're so great, no one's going to ever do anything. Really? Really? Is that how your life has worked out so far? That when you feel horrible about something, when you beat yourself up, when you degrade yourself and feel ashamed, you shine? That's when you grow? That's when you feel amazing? That's when you affect other people? When you're putting yourself down? Or do you feel at your best? Do you feel the most inspired? Do you feel the most connected? Do you feel the most motivated to help, to do? When you are building yourself up, when you're allowing the greatest you to shine through. Shame has never led anybody to greatness, ever. It's led them to therapy, but it's never, which might at the end lead them to greatness, but it's never led them to greatness. We have to go first. If we want to stop speaking Lashon Hara about other people, we have to stop speaking Lashon Hara about ourselves. There is no one we talk to more negatively, more horribly, I'm sure you've heard this before, than the way we speak to ourselves. Think about the last time you really beat yourself up for something. If you would ever speak to another human being like that, you would be locked up. Think about it. You do something, I do something wrong, and I'm like, stupid. You're an idiot. Why did you do that? Didn't you know? Imagine hearing a conversation between two people, any two people, and one of them is saying to the other one, you're stupid, you're an idiot. Didn't you know? You'd be like, whoa, buddy, relax. What are you doing? Whatever they did, that's not the way you talk to someone. But if we talk to ourselves like that, we're like, yeah, no, deserve it. I deserve that. Totally makes sense to me. We're so rude to ourselves. How can we ever find out who we are and connect to Hashem if we're talking about ourselves like that? Look through every description. Right? What's the point we're trying to get to over here? Is living with the eye of Hashem. I don't care how you view yourself. The odds are, the way we view ourselves, it's just trauma. It's just trauma. Let's get under people's skin here for a second. Right? How come every girl so sums up? I've had girls say to me before, I give my brains, I give my talents, I give everything just to be pretty. I give everything just to be pretty. I was about to say, nowadays I have boys that are saying, I'll give my brains, I'll give my talents just to be pretty also. It's not that. It used to be money, now it's just, they're just like, I just don't want to have these eyebrows. Like, I never even noticed your eyebrows. I don't know how you noticed your eyebrows. How does that happen? We so sideline ourselves. Why? Oh, because we grow up. We grow up and we have people saying stupid things around us. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Well, if you're not pretty, then right? Every single person wants to be married. You know what marriage solves? Not being single. That's it. One problem, done. That's it. That's all it does. There's a bunch of older women in here right now that want to stab me. They're like, don't tell them this! They have to get married and get out of the house! Like, I get it. I'm not saying... But to make people feel like they're worthless because they weren't betrothed at 4. To make men feel like they're nothing because they don't have the biggest house on the block. Because they're not driving that car. It's crazy. What's crazy about it is that we believe it. We've adopted these thoughts onto ourselves, and we believe it. We need to go first. We need to stop and take upon ourselves right now to start viewing ourselves for what we really are. What are we really? What the Ribono Shel Olam tells us we are. The first thing he told us is, you were created b'tzelem Elokim. You were created in my image. You were created in my image, says God. I created you to be like me. You have greatness in you. You can create. You can do. You can affect. There's no limit to how great you could become. There's no limit to the amount of love that can come from you. There's no limit to how great you can feel about yourself. But it starts with you. It starts with you speaking to you properly, believing in you properly. Other people not believing that you are something should never be the reason that we don't do what we need to do. Im eina nili means, says the Maharal, that there's this great hole that has to be done. This great hole, W-H-O-L-E. There's this great thing, tafkid ha'olam, that needs to be accomplished. And we're all a part of it. Im eina nili, if I don't do my part for that, there is no other me. There is no other this guy that's going to do that. If I'm not out there killing it as me, and instead I decide to be that person or that person, there's no one else that's going to do that. And that's what we're held accountable for after 120. When we come up to Shamayim after 120, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be glorious. Hashem's going to look at us and he's going to be like, oh, I love you so much. We all think of it as din and everyone's getting murdered. You're dead already. Everything's fine. We're coming up. Hashem looks at us and he says, first of all, right? My mother used to come home from PTA. You might have heard me say this once. My mother used to come home from PTA. Woo, we're over time. My mother used to come home from PTA. I'm sorry, we'll end with this. Not that we're this story, but we're going to end. At some point, or I'm going to keel over. It's going to happen. My mother used to come home from PTA. There's still PTA in the world, right? I have no idea. Parents, Teachers Association. It's when the parents get yelled at by parents have to sit in little desks and the teacher talks at them like they're four, and it gives you a feeling of how your kids get to feel every day. And my mother used to come home. I was a horrific student. I still am. I'm dyslexic. I have ADD. I was a horrific student. I couldn't anything. Nothing went in. Like they say, go in one ear, out the other. Nothing went in to begin with. It wasn't like there was a way to catch it. It never, I would sit there staring at them and they'd be like, oh my Lord, this guy, there's nothing even happening there. I was spacing, I don't know what was happening, and my parents used to come home and I used to make a little trouble, I'm sure. And my parents used to come home just to remind the teacher I'm still in the class. I would make some trouble. And my mother used to come home every single time, and the first thing she would say, now as an adult, I know my mother was lying through her teeth. She was lying right to my face. But she used to come home, and she used to say to me, first of all, for every single teacher said the same thing. The first thing they said, Mrs. Bensoussan, we love your son. He is amazing. He is hilarious. He is so talented. He is so smart. We just wish he would do something, anything, in class, productive. But they love you. This is how she would come home from every single PTA. I know she was lying because when I came in the next day, and this is, by the way, this is the power that we have over people, definitely over our children, but over people. I would come in the next day and the lie would be proven immediately. I don't know what my mother was thinking. I know what she was thinking. She was thinking that she's better than the teacher in my eyes, and she was right. I would come in the next day. The teacher would beeline for me, walk right up and be like, did your mother tell you about our reading last night? I'd be like, yeah, thank you. And he'd be like, okay, so then I hope we're about to see. I'm like, and I think that's how the sentence ended. I don't know, I stopped listening 4 seconds after because, again, there was nothing doing. But the fact of the matter was, that was a dead giveaway that my mother was lying. Nothing doing up here. Nothing. I did not realize. Because my mother told me that, I believed her. Everyone loves me. The first speeches I ever gave were horrible. I look back at them now, I cringe. I cringe when I listen to my ones now. I don't listen to my speeches. I said them, I don't have to be there to listen. But I cringe. What made me think I could go do that? It was all my mother saying to me, they're going to love you. I'm like, okay, I guess so. She drilled it into our heads with a jackhammer. You weren't allowed to talk bad about yourself in our house. That was my father's job. No, we have to be kind to ourselves. We have to be kind to ourselves first. What does that mean? We don't let ourselves get away with everything. That's not what kindness is. We let ourselves walk all over ourselves and do nothing all day and say, it's okay, it's okay. That's not what kindness is. Kindness is beautiful. Kindness is, I wake up in the morning and I say to myself, I can do this. Why? How do I know that I can do this? Because the first thing Hashem tells me to say, I'll end with this, the first thing Hashem tells me to say every single day, and l'halacha, especially according to the Sfaradim, we don't have to wash our hands before we say this. We don't have to do anything. It's supposed to be said the second we gain any sort of consciousness, the second our eyes open even a little bit, we're supposed to say, Moda ani lefanecha. Thank you, Hashem, for waking me up. Melachai v'kayam. And don't forget who Hashem is. No, Melachai v'kayam. He's the living king. He's the king. He runs all of this. He owns all of this. He knows better than your Uncle Sammy. He knows everything. He knows everything. Shechazarta bi nishmati bechamla. He gave me back my neshama bechamla, with mercy. And our final words, when we finally gain consciousness, we say, Rabbe emunatecha. And with great trust in me, with great belief in me, the God of the whole universe woke me up this morning because He believes I'm awesome. Who are we to say any different? Who's that small part of our brain there to say any different than that? We need to go first. As the next part of our series is going to be, is what happens when we go first. What happens to all the people around us? What happens to all the jealousy? What happens to all the anger? What happens to all the resentment? What happens? It all falls away. It all falls away. We don't have it anymore because we don't need it anymore, because there's no more hole to fill. There's no more emptiness. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. There was a Marine, I just heard this. There was a Marine who was injured. He goes around speaking. He's an injured warrior. Goes around speaking. Someone came up to him. He was in his fatigue. Someone came up to him and said, I want to thank you so much for your service. And his response every time someone says that to him is, guy comes up to him and says, I want to thank you for your service. His response to them always is, you're worth it. I thought that was so beautiful. You're welcome. You're worth it. We're worth it. You're worth it, guys. Believe in you. You're worth it. And Bezrat Hashem is the last 9 days, the last Tisha B'Av we'll ever have to suffer through.